Hi, how's it going? This is Roxanne of Collinwood for YouTube. Back with another Dark Shadows video for you guys and gals. I'm here to do a video. Somebody in my Dark Shadows group, Dark Shadows discussion group, asked, what's the deal with Roxanne being a vampire? So, did Barnabas change Roxanne into a vampire? Yes. So, why didn't he remember it? So, when you meet Vampire Roxanne, there's a lot of things to take into consideration. Number one, before we actually know that it's Roxanne, we know that we don't know who's doing the attacks. We don't know that it, for the first real time ever, the audience does not know. Who's being the vampire. We've seen Barnabas, we've seen Dirk Wilkins, we've seen Tom Jennings. Um, this was somebody we didn't know who it was, and then the reveal of it was Roxanne Drew in 1970. Now, before I get into why Barnabas didn't remember changing her and all that, because I am going to touch upon this whole thing, it's important to remember that Roxanne Drew had it out for the Collins family, and at that point in time, we didn't know why. Like, we weren't. The writers reveal that what the writers are gonna reveal is cool, but you also the writers are sort of hinting that Roxanne seems to at least be aware of the events of 1995. That it seems like they're hinting that she's somehow connected to Judah Zachary in some sort of weird way, or Gerard's, or at least Gerard Styles, but we don't know how. Now they don't actually confirm she is connected, but they're hinting. They don't, Now there is a Roxanne Drew in 1840, and it's the same Roxanne Drew. Okay, Roxanne Barnabas could not stake Roxanne in 1970 because he loved a woman named Roxanne Drew in 1970 parallel time. So he couldn't stake this Roxanne Drew in 1970. Back in 1840, Roxanne Drew has a brother named Randall, um, who ends up staking his sister. Who ends up killing his sister because she becomes a vampire. How does Barnabas bite Roxanne Drew? Because Barnabas would have been chained up, right? So Julia Hoffman and Barnabas are running the events of 1995. In 1995 we see Collinwood destroyed. In 1970, Barnabas and Julia were trying to prevent the events from happening by the clues they gathered from that Carolyn had given them. Um, they were not successful. So, but they also knew about Quentin's staircase. Julia gets to the staircase. The zombies stop Barnabas from going, but they let him go. Um, be, because after a while he uses the I Ching to go back. Now, before he goes back, keep in mind Dr. Julia Hoffman is already back in 1840. So she says to Ben Stokes at the time, who was Barnabas's friend and servant, she's going to let Barnabas out of his coffin. She knows him. Barnabas will be in that body. The Barnabas of 1795 did not know Dr. Julia Hoffman. This is sort of the trippiness of time travel and time in general in Dark Shadows. That you have a there is a literal past that keeps repeating itself. They talked about this in 1795. So 1840. The events of 1840 are trying to happen, right? Here's Dr. Julia Hoffman, who's from the present, who came back from Quentin Staircase, is now going to interfere with time in a way of by releasing Barnabas in 1840. She releases him. He doesn't know her because he shouldn't. This is not the Barnabas that she knew in 1970. This is the 1795 Barnabas. Again, 1795 Barnabas did not ever hear of a Dr. Julie Hoffman. He didn't know of her. That Barnabas does not meet Dr. Julie Hoffman until 1967 slash 68, sorry, but was 67. But still, it's really interesting to know that Barnabas is going to be a little chaotic. He does talk to Ben, but he also bites a woman named Roxanne, who showed up with Lamar Trask and stuff, and is Quentin's wife's sister. Um, Randall is her brother. The Drews are a very interesting family. This is how Barnabas did not remember biting her, because it was the Barnabas in 1970 is a very different person and a very different man than the Barnabas in 1840. It's why keep in mind, when Angelique comes to check on Barnabas in 1840, and there's that interaction between the two of them, she even comments about how different he really is from the last time she saw him. Not look, the personality. That he's all too aware of what the stakes are. He's all too aware of what has happened and what is happening in his present day time of the 1970s. But he's also aware of the stakes if him and Julia fail in 1840. So the Barnabas that bites Roxanne Drew is a Barnabas who does not know Dr. Julia Hoffman, a Barnabas who has not lived through who has not lived through the Adams, the Willie Loomises, the Jason McGuires, that it is a completely, in a lot of ways, it's a different person, but it's the same person, but it's a different personality because that Barnabas hasn't been through what the Barnabas in 1970 has been through. And again, that's why Barnabas doesn't remember biting Roxanne Drew, because to him, he didn't bite Roxanne Drew. Because if Barnabas had made it back when Julia opened the coffin, Barnabas would not have bitten Roxanne Drew. He'd have bitten a prostitute. So there's that. But I hope this explains things to you folks. I hope you guys have a great night and take care.